Oh, howdy, folks. It's today, the 16th, 17th, 16th, I guess. So I'm gonna review Richard Laymons The Stake from what year are we doing? Layman 91, Zebra Fiction. So I've had this book for a while. I'm assuming I ordered it from Amazon, and I've had it for years. And I was you should read the Layman for October. But I've been reading a lot of like mediocre books, and I was like, man, I hope these crappy books haven't like tainted me and I don't enjoy Layman anymore. Nothing of the sort. Like, loved it. It's 500 pages, and I'll just tell you about it. Starts out, there's Larry Dunbar, his wife Jean, their married couple neighbor Pete and Barbara. They go to a ghost town. They investigate it. They find an old hotel. Barb falls through the floor of the top of the stairs, and her husband like finds a way to go under the stairs to help her down. And that's where they find a coffin with a desiccated corpse in it with a stake through its heart. And Larry Dunbar, he's a writer, so right away the gears are turning in his head, but he's pretty squeamish, kind of a wimpy guy, and he's pretty scared. And like Pete's like, oh, he thinks it's awesome. But of course the wives are grossed out and they just want to get out of there, so they go home. Over the weekend, Jean and Larry's daughter, their daughter, Lane, they go to visit her parents. Larry's home alone. He has to work on a book. So he goes over to Pete and Barbara's. They're watching movies. They watch Cameron's Closet, I think Blood Frenzy. And then Pete, they're drinking. His wife goes to sleep. She fell asleep watching a movie and she goes to bed. And Pete's like, dude, we should go get that coffin with the corpse in it with the stake in its heart. And Larry doesn't even want to think about it, but he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, you could write a book about it, but not like a fiction book. You could write a real non-fiction book about this vampire, this corpse that we found in the coffin. And it'll end like, I'll record it, I'll buy a camera, and you pull the stake out and we'll see what happens. And Larry's intrigued and he's drunk. So Pete convinces him to go out after midnight for just like an hour drive into the desert and go get this corpse in the casket with the stake through its heart. And they do. They bring it home, and Larry puts it in his garage, like behind a shelf. And then he starts writing, and he's like burning pages out. Like he writes, I think he writes in a few hours, because he loses track of time. He writes like 70 pages, I think, because I think he says the most he's ever written in one day is 30 pages. So he's just firing on all cylinders writing this book, and he really likes it. And he's getting drunk while he's doing it. Next day he wakes up naked in his garage, and oh yeah, I forgot to mention that the corpse had a blanket over it, and he's covered himself in the blanket, and he's like revulsed, and he like throws it off, and he sees like he had pulled the coffin out, and the arms of the corpse are out. So he's like, what did I do? So he shoves the arms back, and he notices it has a ring on it. Takes it off. It's a class ring from 1968, and has the name Bonnie Saxon on it. So now he knows who the corpse is, and he knows it's a class ring from the school his daughter goes to. So he asks his daughter Lane she can check out the yearbook from that year, and he can see what she looks like. And then this is where we get into Lane, his daughter's story. So she does it for him, but it turns out students can't check out the yearbooks. But just so happens her favorite teacher is there, Mr. Kramer, and he checks it out for her, and he lets Lane take it. She's all, I'll do anything, thank you. And he's all, just help me grade some papers after class, and we'll be square. But Mr. Kramer is a perverted, manipulative abuser of girls, and he has his sights set on Lane. He had already been abusing another girl, Jessica, I think her name was, and he had hurt Jessica really bad. And one night he sneaks into her room and he threatens her because I guess he thinks maybe she's gonna rat him out to the cops or someone. And he says, she's, if anything happens, if I hear anything that you're, or even if I think you're gonna betray me, I'll kill your parents. Then I'll come here in your room, and he has a straight razor, and I'm gonna slice you up till morning, and then I'll kill you. And I was like, dude, this guy's like a classic Layman psycho. And now he has his sights set on Lane, and he's totally manipulating her. And when she goes to grade, she's in class, so she's gonna stay after. But he's just ignoring her, and she's like, why is he ignoring me? She's like, did I do something wrong? Did I make him mad? So I hope not. I don't think I did. And then he starts talking to her, and she's like, oh, okay, I'm glad. I did. He's not mad at me. So he's just manipulating her, like. And then Kramer winds up killing Jessica because she had been mean to Lane. Like, she just started, Lane started talking to her because they seemed friendly before, but then Jessica just starts cursing Lane out, and Kramer kills her for that. He's like, you insulted Lane. He's like, now you gotta go. And Jessica had a boyfriend, Riley, who's like a big bully, and Lane, she tells him because she has a class with him, and she's all, I'm really sorry what happened to Jessica. And he's like, F you. And she's like, look, you don't have to be a tough guy all the time. I'm just trying to be nice. And he's like, you want to be nice? He grabs her arm and he pulls her out of her desk and pulls her close, and he spits in her face, and then he just smears it all over her face. And I was like, ugh. And then she just, like, in her head, she tastes it. Oh, that was really gross. And then Kramer beats up Riley. And I was like, now he looks like more of a hero to her. And I was also, man, is Riley going to come back and hurt Lane? And then that night, Lane had a date with her boyfriend, Jim, and her two best friends, Henry and Betty. And Jim doesn't like them, but Lane made him promise to be nice to them. And as long as you don't wear a bra, I'll be nice to them. So she doesn't wear a bra. And, but she wears pants, because if she wears a skirt, he's always groping her, sticking his hand up her skirt, trying to get in her shirt. And she kind of likes it sometimes, but mostly she doesn't. She doesn't like being groped all the time. And she has such great inner monologue. She's like, he's just a horny teenager. And she's all, and I'm not going to be with him forever. I don't even love him. So that was really good to hear her inner thoughts about this horny teenager. So they're watching a movie. She's got her drink, popcorn. She's taking a sip of her drink through the straw, and her boyfriend Jim just shoves his hand between her legs and grabs her crotch. And Lane, and he did it right when she was drinking. So it all comes out of her nose. She coughs it up. She jumps out of the seat. She goes to the bathroom. Betty comes in, and she's all, what happened? And she tells her what happened. She's like, I'm just done with him. I'm breaking up. And Betty's like, well, he's right outside. So when she leaves the bathroom, she pushes the door as hard as she can. It doesn't hit him, but it almost hits him. And she breaks up with him. And now that Betty and Henry know what's happened, they start in on Jim. And Henry's like a smaller, nerdy guy. Jim's a big, tough jock. And he's all, I'll wipe the floor with you, nerd. And Henry's like, I've been beaten up by bigger jocks than you. And while Betty and Henry are arguing with Jim, Lane kicks her boyfriend in the ass as hard as she can. And it really hurts him, and he breaks up with her. Even if she had already broken up with him. And he leaves him there. I was like, now we're going to have to worry about Jim getting revenge on Lane. So back to Larry and the coffin with the vampire. And it turns into Lane's book for a while, and it was really good. It could have been just that. But Larry's figured out who Bonnie is, and he's kind of falling in love with her image when he sees how pretty she is. I imagine that Sweeney girl. I can't remember her first name. Sydney Sweeney? Yeah, Sydney Sweeney. I imagine her. And he's having dreams about her. He hears her talking to him, and I was like, is this just his thoughts, or is this her vampiric presence seeping into him? And he feels bad. He feels like he's cheating on Jean, which I wish we would have gotten more of. Jean's, we get Lane, Larry, Pete. The wives kind of take a backseat. And I like Jean. I like all the characters. Whenever I was reading about one, I wanted to get back to the others. And then right when I wanted to, Layman would pick their story back up. So Larry finds out that Bonnie had disappeared along with two of her friends back in '68. Around the same time, one of them was walking home and she just disappeared. The other two, Bonnie and one of her other friends, someone broke into their house, into their bedroom, and took them away, and there was like blood on their sheets. So they think it's this guy named Uriah Hadley who had lived in the ghost town with his wife and daughter who were murdered. And through some far-fetched deduction, I guess Larry's like, maybe Uriah thought Bonnie was a vampire. Well, he must have. And then he abducted her and then staked her to the heart and then hid her under the stairs. And when they were at the ghost town, there were like signs. When they went back to steal the coffin, there were signs that someone was around there. So Larry's like, maybe Uriah's still out there. Maybe he's lived out there and he's gone crazy. And he's like a desert rat, madman, lunatic. And I was like, I want to read that story too. So him and Pete get the idea. They're going to go capture Uriah and bring him to justice for the murder of Bonnie. And I don't want to tell you the whole thing, but more stuff happens with Kramer. He does hurt Lane very badly. They don't describe it, but he assaults her. So I was like, what's gonna happen? Like, I was like, are they gonna pull the stake out of the vampire and the vampire is gonna kill Kramer? What's gonna happen with the Uriah Hadley? Because he does exist. They find out he is real. Larry and Pete actually like have a big battle with him in the desert, and then he's coming for them. So it's like, so we got the vampire, we got pervert Kramer, we got this weird desert rat Uriah, and I was like, they all got to come together, which Layman does, and he does it really so well. I really like The Stake. I think I'll read it again. I reread all the Laymans. Not much of a body count and no gore really. There's some kills, but some of Layman's books are really like gory and bloody and nasty and filled with murder and mayhem. This isn't one of them, but still, it is so good. It's more like an epic adventure and a journey that like through a crazy world that these characters like Lane and her dad, Larry, that they didn't know existed, but it's there, and then they're pulled into it. I'd give it a. I don't like it as much as other Laymans, just because I love it, but I love some of his other books even more. So I would give it a 4 out of 5 as far as Layman books are concerned. It was 500 pages. It took me about 2 weeks to read. That's just because I've been busy, doing the videos, taking my mom's dog for a walk every day, writing letters, listening to music, working, of course. But when I got into it, like I just burned through it. And I would totally recommend it if you have any interest in reading horror novels. If you haven't read a Layman, this would be a good one to start with. It's not too, because when Layman's name comes up, it's usually in a negative light, and I just don't understand. He writes so well. His horror is different. It's very inventive. He comes up with these great ideas that no one else has. But yeah, he still has his detractors, and he's been dead since 2001. I remember I got back into Layman just right before he died. I read Among the Missing and some of his other books, and I don't even know how I found out. I mean, I guess I read it online, but I wasn't even really online in 2001. Somehow I heard it. But You still have his books, still have The Stake. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. There's so many little details of his writing. The way he describes Larry, like when he's writing a story, how he's writing, that was good. Lane, her story, her ordeal, all the stuff she thinks about, like after she gets assaulted by Kramer, that was very sad. But I was like, man, like I don't want to ruin it for you if you want to read it. And my friend Thomas is reading it right now. I think I have another friend who picked it up. I hope they read it. I hope you read it. And I'm reading Gila right now, and that's pretty good. I really like it. It's only 166 pages, so I could finish that like this weekend. But along with Brain Dead, this is the best thing that I've discovered. That's new to me that I didn't know. I've had it for years, but I finally read it, so I'll quit rambling. Let me know if you've read The Stake or what you think of Layman, and I'll see you later.